Making sense of politics and the cultural divide from a different perspective. This is America on the Edge with C.L. Bryant on News Radio 710 Keel.
Hello, citizens. It's a great day in the USA, and it's Monday again. And we are here advancing the cause of American liberty and freedom. I'm C.L. Bryant, and this is America on the Edge, where you'll not live on the edge, you'll have the edge. And we're broadcasting from within the borders of the greatest success story the world has ever known, the United States of America. We invite you to stay a while. And with me on this journey is my co-host, Stephen Parr. Stephen, tell the folks what's in the lineup today.
You know, we took Monday off, but we've got a busy Tuesday here in store trying to make up for it. Our top stories are going to be about ISIS, developments over there. There's been another American beheaded over there, another journalist, and some other activity heading on in the Middle East. And some allies of the president are starting to question a little bit.
And they need to question him, Stephen.
They
need to question what's going on in this president's mind. The American people are anxious.
I'm not surprised by the questions. I'm surprised by who said it, and we'll have that in a minute.
It's amazing.
We're also going to be talking about minimum wage. A lot of labor unions used Labor Day to say that we need to have more money for folks working for minimum wage. We're going to dig into that. Would it be helpful? Would it be harmful? And do you know people working for minimum wage?
I think they have forgotten what it's all about.
Our question of the day, do you think minimum wage should be $15 per hour? How much is too much? Send us a tweet at The American Edge. Reach us on Facebook, AmericaOnTheEdge.com Facebook.com/AmericaOnTheEdge. Had that backwards. Woo, took a day off. Got things all messed up. You can also give us a phone call, 320-KEEL, 320-KEEL, and get us going there. We also have Mike Woods, oil company expert. He's been in the field for 40 years.
Isn't he a guru?
He's a guru. Yes, it's on his business card. It says guru.
So.
And we're going to be talking about that, and not just how it affects the economy, but also some international implications of oil and gas production here in Louisiana.
We certainly need to hear from him.
Plus, we've got The Buzz.
What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening.
Things are certainly heating up over in Europe. In Ukraine, it is essentially a shooting war between Ukraine and Russia. It's all but declared, and the only reason it's not declared is because Russia keeps saying, oh, no, our tanks there, they are on vacation. That's what you do. And when you're a Russian soldier, you go into Ukraine and you do a little firing practice.
You send in the heavy artillery.
It is nothing. But not everybody is believing that. And Senator John McCain was on CBS Face the Nation this weekend saying, we need to be doing more.
Why do you believe the introduction of U.S. weapons would make a difference on the ground in eastern Ukraine?
For God's sake, can't we help these people defend themselves? This is not an incursion. This is an invasion.
Is it a war? Has there been an act of war committed by Russia against Ukraine?
I think from the Ukrainians, you would say that. He's establishing a land bridge all the way to Crimea, and he may then threaten Moldova and the Baltics if he continues to succeed.
You know, Stephen, I disagree with some of the things that John McCain says some of the time, but I'm absolutely in agreement with him on this.
Yeah, it's clear that that's what Putin's trying to do. He's trying to create a land bridge to Crimea, and someone has to help Ukraine. And you know what? It's not just John McCain saying this. Democrat Senator Robert Menendez from New Jersey is over in Kiev on a fact-finding mission. Listen to what he told CNN.
I believe that we need to send defensive weapons to the Ukrainians for them to be able to fight for their own freedom. And if we do that, that will, I believe, possibly change the calculation of Putin.
Should we have done this sooner is my question to you, Stephen.
I think so. We've been doing these targeted economic sanctions.
Right.
I never really thought that those were necessarily going to work, mostly because history's told me I don't have a good example of economic sanctions actually working.
Yeah.
But yeah, we probably should have done it sooner. Right now, Putin's saying he could take Kiev in just 2 weeks.
What, in your opinion, let's just set this up for the folks. Why would he say that?
I believe he's saying that as a way of saying, don't challenge me. He doesn't want the West to stop him from doing what he's trying to do, which is to create a land bridge to Crimea so that they get to hold their fresh water, their warm water port.
It's pretty bold for any leader to say to us, the greatest superpower still on the earth.
Right.
I can take it. I can take it in 2 weeks. He says that. He just lays it out there. And I think it's because there is no one to challenge it.
What if Barack Obama had said before the election, after the election, I will have more resolve, instead of saying I will have more flexibility.
And see, this is what's happening. He is more flexible than he should be.
Yeah.
And some say he's more cautious. But anyway.
We're also getting reports that Dr. Ben Carson has declared that he will endorse Dr. Bill Cassidy for the Louisiana Senate race.
That's a big move for Ben, and it is a huge feather, I think, for Cassidy.
There are people talking about Carson running for president, and for someone who's being thrown around in that to say this is the person I stand behind for Senate, kind of a big deal.
This is who I want in Senate if I become president.
Right.
That's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying.
And now, of course, I brought Dr. Ben here, my pastor, Pastor James McMinnis here last year to a men's conference. And I am actually really surprised that he's gaining the momentum that he's gaining as for president.
You're talking about
Ben Carson
gaining that momentum. Yeah. Speaking of surges, momentum, there's the surge in illegal students, and a new report came out and said that will cost us $760 million just for school for these kids, these illegal immigrants that have come across the border. Just to put them in school, $760 million this year.
Stephen, the operative word for me there is illegal. I'm very, very disturbed at that figure along with that word illegal.
It's fine to educate kids who belong here, but when we're spending money that could go somewhere else for people who belong here.
Your vice president is saying that all of them are our kids.
Oh, sure. They're all our kids. We just can't afford them. I guess that makes us deadbeat dads. Anyway.
I like that.
And one last note here. Caddo Parish has made the list of the top counties or parishes in the country for gun ownership.
Whoa, wonder why that is.
Somewhere around 50% of folks who live in Caddo Parish are armed.
Somebody's either really scared or they're expecting something to happen.
It could just be they see that they're in the flight path for some
shoot ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah, deadbeat dads love to shoot ducks. But anyway, this is America on the Edge. I'm CL Bryant. We'll be back in a minute.
You're listening to America on the Edge with C.L. Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
Have you ever thought, I wish I didn't have to search for the best price on printing or direct mail? Tired of trying to design your own material on some confusing website just to get to the end and it's not that professional look your business needs? Well, stop searching and call Graphic Industries. We've been waiting on your business, ready to help you with your printing and direct mail needs. Graphic Industries offers all types of print, stationery, brochures, flyers, catalogs, door hangers, books, pocket folders, postcards, variable printed letters, and much, much more. Graphic Industries can direct mail for you, too. You can customize a mailing list, target a certain demographic, or just flood the market and get your name in the homes of thousands of potential clients. Lowest prices, best quality, and a faster turn time. Visit us online at graphicindustries.net. or call us today at 318-222-1100. Graphic Industries, the #1 choice of printing and direct mail.
Doctors Thornton, Pugh, Ollier, and Watkins from the Ear, Nose, and Throat Center are excited to tell you about a new, made-for-iPhone hearing aid, Resound Links. Resound Links is the fully featured hearing aid designed to connect directly with iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. Built with revolutionary technology to bring you a smarter, smaller, and more connected hearing experience. Call the Ear, Nose, and Throat Center at 888-408-6318 today today to experience Resound Links. That's 888-408-6318 to schedule your appointment to learn all about Resound Links. Apple, iPad, iPhone, and iPod Touch are trademarks of Apple Incorporated, registered in the U.S. and other countries. Once again, call the Ear, Nose, and Throat Center at 888-408-6318 today to experience Resound Links.
Hello, everybody. This is Henry Burns. God, faith, and freedom are not free. Many have paid the price. Let freedom ring. What a great radio program. Go get 'em, CL.
If you're in need of a good plumber, perhaps you need work on your heater, or especially right now with cooling and refrigeration systems. If you need help, give the friendly folks at Premier a call at 222-1980.
Just like us, your business's reputation means everything. Do you know what's being said about you online? Every single day, customers are talking about businesses online. 61% of consumers read online reviews before making a purchase decision. This wealth of chatter has a direct impact on sales. Help ensure that your business's reputation is secure so you don't potentially lose out on business. If you're interested in hearing more to get a leg up on your competition, call 732-691-4005 for a free consultation or look online. TownsquareInteractive.com.
This is America on the Edge with CL Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
Welcome back to America on the Edge with CL Bryant. I'm Stephen Parr. Our question of the day: do you think that minimum wage should be raised to $15 an hour? How much is enough? Let us know. Give us a phone call, 318-320-KEEL. We'll be taking your phone calls after the half hour. If you want to send us a tweet on that or anything else you want to talk about, you talk about Labor Day, whatever you want to talk about, we're here.
How about them Tigers? You can talk about them Tigers.
Talk about the Tigers if you want. And we would like to have your phone call, 318-320-KEEL, or send us a tweet at The American Edge. CL, we've been talking about what's been going on in ISIS, in Iraq and Syria for weeks now. And, of course, the beheading of James Foley.
Yeah.
And now there's been another one.
Stephen Sotloff.
Stephen Sotloff was a freelance reporter for foreign policy for Time, among other
Sounds
outlets.
pretty serious, doesn't it, Stephen?
They're
not playing around, are they?
They're not. And you only have to behead one journalist for me to go, okay, you're taking it seriously.
You're very serious, but still, there's no reaction here. That's my problem. There's no reaction here.
Yeah.
I mean, what do? You just let you watch Americans die one by one who are who are in service to the country?
I guess it's because we didn't have a strategy.
We don't have a strategy.
Remember, that's what the president said last week. We don't have a strategy when
and today
it comes
we
to
find
ISIS.
out that for at least a year, he's been getting daily briefings.
Yeah.
From the Pentagon.
From the Pentagon. And
he doesn't have a strategy. If he didn't want the job, I said this before, folks, I'm saying it again. If he didn't want the job, he should have told us he didn't want the job. You know, we could have called him president, but at least there's somebody who need to do this job.
And if you don't,
this is the job.
If you don't want the job, if you've had it for 4 years, you're like, you know what, that's enough. You don't have to run again.
Nobody twisted his arm.
Calvin Coolidge didn't run a second time. LBJ didn't run a second time. He ran once.
Vietnam ran him out.
So you didn't have to have the job again, but you're absolutely right. And the president, has been wrong on this, and I believe many members of his own party are starting to come around to this. And I mentioned at the top of the show, I was surprised by who said it. This is Senator Dianne Feinstein talking this weekend.
The president back in January told the New Yorker magazine, David Remnick, that ISIS is the JV team. That was clearly wrong.
Well, I think it's wrong, too. I think it's a major varsity team.
And you know what, Stephen? Dianne Feinstein saying this, that's major. That's significant.
Right.
For her to take that type of shot at the president.
It's almost, not quite, but almost as if Nancy Pelosi had said it.
Oh,
it's
man.
that close.
The world would have actually stopped spinning on its axis if Nancy Pelosi had said this, and the Democrat Party would have been thrown into outer space.
It would have been. It would have, but that wasn't the only criticism she had for the president. She went on, and I want you to listen, this was on Meet the Press. She was trying not to criticize the president, but couldn't help it.
The fact is they have been on the march now for months, if not years. So why does the president still say we don't have a strategy yet? Doesn't that project weakness from the White House?
Well, I mean, I know what you want me to say, but I'm not going to say it in that sense. I think I've learned one thing about this president, and that is he's very cautious. Maybe in this instance, too cautious.
I know what you... The words weakness and caution used by one and then caution used by Feinstein, it equals indecision. It equals almost cowardice in my way of thinking.
It's not leadership.
No.
It's not leadership.
Why does this man not? Why does listen, I respect the office, but why does he not want to? Is his lack of decision actually a tactic within itself? Is that his plan, not to lead?
That's an interesting question. Because the reason he would have that as a tactic, let's just play with that idea.
Yeah.
What if his tactic is to not lead? The reason to have that tactic is then you don't have to shoulder the blame for decisions that are actually made.
And point on, right, spot on. Let me tell you, he doesn't take the blame for anything. Leaders actually do have to take the blame for consequences, even if it's not your fault. You at least have to step up to the plate and say, it was on my watch.
Harry Truman, on his desk, said the buck stops here. And that wasn't just the slogan. He believed it. The buck stopped here.
Right.
He took responsibility for his actions, for ordering the atomic bombs to be dropped on Japan, not once, but twice. And he took full responsibility for that.
Absolutely right. And, and Stephen, and I'll tell the folks here, this show, if it succeeds or fails, it's on me.
I'll take part of the blame, too.
Oh, you're gonna have
I'm
to
here,
take
too.
You have to take part of that blame.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I'll have to step up to that plate. And whatever little companies that I've run and so forth like that, succeed or fail, it's on me. It's on the leadership.
When I was working for KSLA as a meteorologist, I had the same thing every single day.
Oh, yeah.
With my forecast.
Especially when it snowed out the LSU game, man. That was definitely on you.
Man, there's the can of worms. No, but when there was a forecast that didn't go the way I thought it went, I would come out and say, hey, I got it wrong. And people would come up to me and say, don't worry about it. Every other forecaster got it wrong, too. That didn't matter to me. I got it wrong.
There you go.
Well, when the president comes out and says they're the JV team, and now...
He's wrong.
Yeah.
He hasn't said a word, though.
These guys aren't the Washington Generals. These are playing more like pros.
But it seems like more and more the Obama administration are the Globetrotters.
Now, we have actually had some action. Obviously, we've been bombing ISIS. We've been working with the Kurds on the ground in parts of Iraq, and they have had some successes there. Also, this weekend, we had another attack against another Islamic group called Al-Shabaab. This was in Somalia. We went in with some Hellfire missiles, with some planes and drones, laser-guided missiles as well, and took out a meeting of the top minds for Al-Shabaab and attempted to kill Ahmed Abadi Godan, who would be the leader of that group. We don't have confirmation as to whether that succeeded or not.
Is he an Islamic leader as well? Or
He's another one of these terrorists, these Islamic fundamentalists in Mogadishu, Somalia. Of course, we've had problems with Mogadishu going back to Clinton.
Right.
With Black Hawk Down.
But at least Clinton took action. Clinton took action with when our it was an Apache that went down.
Yeah.
But there's no real action. But anyway, let's see what happens. Let's see how Somalia develops. I have a feeling there's a backstory here.
And the question is, how's it go forward from here? This may have just been an opportunity, and we took an opportunity and went on. It would be interesting to see if we have a strategy in Somalia, because apparently we don't have one just across the Red Sea there. We don't have one over in Iraq and in Syria.
Seems like this entire thing is bubbling, Stephen. It looks like the whole world is on fire. And one of the titles that go along with being president of the United States is leader of the free world. And have you been watching the actions of the British Prime Minister,
David Cameron? Yeah.
Dave Cameron. Cameron has been more of the leader these last couple of weeks of the free world than the so-called leader of the free world, who is the American president.
That goes back to the downing of the Malaysian airliner, ML17. It was Cameron who called for the emergency session of the Security Council in the United Nations. It was England who led there. It was England who led on the sanctions against Russia on that. We kind of followed along. Certainly, England's been coming out with much stronger statements, and England did say this last week, if you are an English citizen and you've gone to fight for ISIS, you can't come back.
Do you think, and the fact that they're going to confiscate passports.
They are.
On as far as that's concerned. Do you think our president would even have the moxie to say anything like that?
I don't think so. Again, it comes back to he's a very cautious leader. When was the last time he took a stand and meant it? When was the last time he took a stand, kept his feet planted firm, and saw it all the way through?
Well, I tell you what, Vladimir Putin is threatening to cut off the gas there in the Ukraine, and we have coming up with us in the next segment oil and gas guru Mike Woods with us, and we're going to be talking to him about that situation. This is America on the Edge with CL Bryant, Stephen Parr. We'll be right back.
Giving you the edge. This is America on the Edge with CL Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
SB Magazine, North Louisiana's premier publication, is your source for local entertainment, home decor ideas, gardening information, fashion trends, and seasonal gift guides. Every month, we take you behind the scenes at some of Shreveport-Bossier's most fun events in Eye on SB. And you'll find SB Magazine everywhere. But the best way to make sure you have the most current issue is to subscribe. It's just $16 for 12 months. Call Debbie today or go to our website, sbmag.net. SB Magazine, the pulse of Shreveport-Bossier.
Planet Fitness would like you to know that there's no way you're joining our gym for 75 cents. We're sorry. If you bring 3 quarters into our new location in Shreveport, we will politely inform you that it's impossible to join. Nothing personal, only business. 3 quarters is just not enough to join our gym. However, if you bring 4 quarters to Planet Fitness, well, that paints a whole new picture. You see, we've got a grand opening sale going on now through September 12th, where you can sign up for only $1. That's right, $1. Then you'll pay just $10 a month with no commitment. We cleverly named this promotion the $1 sale. So head to the new Planet Fitness in Shreveport across from Highland Medical Center between now and September 12th, or join online at planetfitness.com.
Home club only. Annual membership fee applies. Participating locations only. Planet Fitness facilities are independently owned and operated. Incentives offered for enrolling in other memberships. See club for details.
Hey guys, if you're into fantasy football, you'll want to hear this. These new one-week fantasy football leagues at FanDuel.com are the hottest thing in fantasy sports. At FanDuel, you play in one-week fantasy football leagues for real money with immediate cash payouts. And with no season-long commitment, you only play when you want. And get this, there's a 36-year-old guy in Detroit named Chris Prince who's won over $656,000 playing at FanDuel. Damn! And he's not alone. Over 278,000 people have already won money playing in these one-week fantasy leagues at FanDuel.com. FanDuel's so big that they're paying out $10 million every week this football season. And right now, FanDuel is giving you up to $200 free. That's right. For every dollar you deposit, FanDuel will match it up to $200. But hurry, this offer expires this Friday. The only way to get up to $200 free is to go to FanDuel.com. Click the microphone in the upper right corner and use the promo code 2244. That's FANDUEL.com, promo code 2244.
This is John Greenhut, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, Power Swabs is the answer. In 5 minutes, you'll see 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. Even better, there's no messy strips or trays that you'll have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes, and you're done. To try Power Swabs, call 1-800-679-0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free. 1-800-679-0969. That's 1-800-679-0969.
This is America on the Edge with CL Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
Welcome back to America on the Edge with CL Bryant. I'm Stephen Parr. Our question of the day, should minimum wage be raised to $15 per hour? Is that enough? We got a call from Doug in Arcadia. Doug, I understand you're calling about the question of the day. What are your thoughts on that?
My my thoughts are basically that if the value you produce of the service you're doing is worth $15, then you can pay it. But it's not on some stuff. And think of it this way: 98% of people make more than minimum wage. Why don't they just get paid minimum wage? Because the skills and experience they got is worth more than minimum wage.
Doug, I think you're spot on this, CL, and I think it's something like 3 to 5% of all Americans make minimum wage, and I'm going to check that percentage there in just a minute. But Doug, let me ask you this question while we have you on the air: was the minimum wage intended to be the type of wage that would support a family, in your opinion, and historically?
Why would it support?
Was it intended to be the type of wage that would support an entire family?
I don't think so. I think it's just it's arbitrary. You're forcing. Think of it this way: if a private business person, he's got people working for him, you're forcing him to pay a wage. Maybe they don't. The value they produce isn't worth that. It's really. It's putting a political statement on it, I think. Wasn't intended for that.
Doug, I want you to call back often, and I certainly do appreciate your input. God bless and keep you, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stephen, it was Roosevelt, right?
Yeah.
That instituted the minimum wage, and what was it,
1938. It was 25 cents
25
initially,
cents an hour.
And then 30 cents the next year.
And, hey, loaf of bread, 2 cents, I think, back then, and so forth. Well, folks, we want to introduce our special guest of the day, Guru, oil and gas guru.
Mike Woods is here with us. Mike is an undergrad from LSUS, has a business degree from Oklahoma, master's in environmental science from LSU, and also went to law school at LSU. Been in oil and gas for 40 years and is also an adjunct professor for 16 years at LSUS. Guru is the title that we have for you.
He's the smartest guy in this room. There's
no doubt. No doubt. Okay. So our question is, we wanted to get started here. We've been talking a little bit about what's going on over in Russia. And during the break, you were mentioning that this winter does not look good for Ukraine. Why do you say that?
Well, Ukraine derives 40% of their heating from natural gas and another 28% from coal. And so when Putin shuts off their natural gas, and of course the coal is coming from the part of the country that's in absolute turmoil, people in Ukraine are going to freeze to death.
Well, that's very interesting to think that type of maneuver or strategy would be used by Putin. Has it been used in the past? Has that type of strategy, bring our audience into how that has been used in the past?
Yeah, this is not Putin's first rodeo. Not only has he used it in Ukraine, he's also used it in Eastern Europe. My sister-in-law and her husband have been missionaries in Hungary for years, and he has used the same ploy in Eastern Europe, both threatening and cutting the gas supplies off.
And it's not just Ukraine that would suffer from this. If he shuts off that pipeline into Ukraine, this affects not just Ukraine, but most of Europe.
Well, and it also impacts Russia because the majority of their income right now is coming from export of oil and gas. So it has impacts on his own countrymen as well as those in Ukraine and otherwhere.
Folks, I want you to think about the possibility of someone actually shutting off your gas in a cold winter, even though here in Louisiana we have hit and miss winters where it's real cold. Sometimes it's very moderate. But just think about the possibility of not being able to warm yourself. Mike, I want to ask you, what type of reaction should the United States, in your opinion, have toward this type of move if Putin should do this?
Well, we've got a simple answer, CL. We have the ability to export liquefied natural gas. And unfortunately, there are laws right now on the books that prohibit us not only from selling liquefied natural gas overseas, but petroleum products, crude oil, condensate, and others. So it would be a simple way to jump in and help the folks in Ukraine as well as in Europe, because they're all going to be in a world of hurt this winter.
So you're saying we could help, but right now the government has passed laws that make it illegal.
Correct. Back during the Arab oil embargo in '74, a lot of things were done to try to make sure that we always had sufficient reserves. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve came about. But right now it is against the law for us to sell oil products or natural gas overseas.
Somehow, now, Mike, I'm missing something here, and maybe my audience, our audience is too. It is against the law for us to export one of the most natural resources that we have for profit. That red tape cannot be cut. What's going on with that? How do we get around that?
Well, you have to understand, and you've heard me say it before, a lot of folks that pretend to be environmentalists are really socialists, but socialism is not popular, so you can be an environmentalist. And the environmentalist will tell you that by selling liquefied natural gas overseas, that we're really helping to add to the pollution of methane gas. And of course, they forget that 7/8 of the world's methane gas comes from cows. So we can continue to talk about global warming and let's don't frack, let's don't burn natural gas. But, unless we start killing all the cows, methane isn't going to go away. And I don't know if you saw 2 weeks ago, they're finding methane seeps in the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, methane is a natural byproduct of decaying material. It's a natural byproduct of cows chewing their cud and passing gas. I mean, methane is everywhere. So, it's a joke to say that we don't want to sell liquefied natural gas because of global warming.
Here's something I don't understand. Our senator, Mary Landrieu, sits on the head of that energy committee in the Senate there. If she wanted to change this law so that we could actually help Ukraine and Germany in this moment of international crisis, couldn't our Louisiana senator, who's sitting on the head of that energy committee, make a stink and change this?
2 words: Keystone Pipeline. She can't get the Keystone Pipeline done. She has absolutely no impact on the president insofar as any energy regulations, and it's really we're doing the citizens of Louisiana a disservice to say that Mary Landrieu is going to be our saving grace because she chairs the Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee.
I'm glad you brought up the Keystone Pipeline, Mike, because I need to hear from someone in the know like yourself as to whether or not that is could become a reality.
Well, the State Department has said not once but twice that we should have the Keystone Pipeline. Of course, the labor unions are jumping up and down because tremendous jobs that would be provided, of very skilled welders and pipe fitters and others. And again, the president continues to say no. And to be honest with you, CL, in my business, if the Keystone Pipeline came about, it would probably lower the price of crude oil. So I ought to be against the Keystone Pipeline. But as I told you previously, only 8% of the Obama administration has any business background. So you have people promulgating rules, you have people issuing license that have never made a payroll, have never had a job other than a government bureaucrat, and they just don't understand the free market.
Some people are saying, though, that gas prices right now have fallen, I think, something like 10 cents or something in the last few weeks. What do you attribute that to? What do you attribute that decline in the gas price?
2 things. Number one, crude prices are dropping. You have gone through the driving season, so we're now, you do not have the demand for natural gasoline. Also remember, as we go into winter, we change the blend. During the summer, we have a blend of gasoline that cannot emit vapors, but in the wintertime, you change that blend, so it's cheaper to make winter gasoline than it is summer gasoline. But it's Econ 101. It's supply and demand. When people are driving a lot, gas prices go up. When they quit driving, gas prices go down.
Now, out in the Gulf of Mexico, we have a lot of available oil out there, crude oil sitting down in the soil. But as I understand it, the number of federal permits for that drilling has decreased during the Obama administration.
No question, and I'll give you a couple of quick statistics. The permits under the last 2 years of President Bush for offshore were 1,300. The next 2 years under President Obama were 500, so he reduced those by a third. But here's even more telling. Let's talk about onshore. Onshore leases, 13,000 under the last 4 years of President Bush, 8,700, 4,400 less under Obama. And then what's the outcome? Let's look at production. The production history from 09 to 13 on non-federal lands. Oil is up 61%, gas up 33%. On federal lands, oil down 11% and gas down 28%. So if you don't sell the leases, if you don't grant the permits, guess what? You're not going to have the oil and gas.
Mike, I want to put you in the role of forecaster now with the situation as far as the Senate not going to Republicans and the situation with regulations remaining basically like they are. 2 years toward 2016. With that scenario, what does America look like as far as our oil and gas picture look? How does that look?
You're going to have higher gasoline prices. It's plain and simple. As they continue to stifle the industry, Econ 101 says if the supply goes down and the demand is the same or increases, prices are going up.
Folks, that's what you can look forward to.
But I don't think we're going to lose the Senate. In fact, I'm extremely encouraged. From what I am seeing, Montana, South Dakota, and West Virginia are strictly in the R category. And then when you throw in Arkansas, Alaska, Colorado, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, and New Hampshire, I mean, it could be a huge sweep.
Let it be.
What about the EPA's role in all this with their carbon rules of preventing us really from creating new coal plants and shutting down a lot? Their power companies on the East Coast saying, well, we're going to have rolling blackouts this winter.
And it's really interesting that the Senate seats that are up right now, like in West Virginia and other, I mean, coal is going to play a huge impact. And EPA normally goes through a promulgation process where they have public input, but they're doing a lot of sidestepping now and just passing rules without any input. And of course, the impact is long term. But guys, don't forget, Mary does have a lot of power. She went and gave Boise Bollinger $255 million worth of boats, and that's why you saw Boise earlier in the year, who's been a lifelong Republican. He and I were both electoral college delegates for George Bush, and when Boise came out saying, I'm supporting Mary, I thought, what is going on? Well, in July of this year, the advocate said, well, Bollinger Shipyard was awarded a $255 million contract by the subcommittee that Mary chairs, so she does have power.
I tell you what, CL, if Mary gave this show $200 million, I think I'd vote for Mary.
Oh, yeah, I'd definitely be voting. Well, I don't know, Stephen. I'd have to stand on the principle. I don't know. It just had to be principle for me, folks, although that $200 million does, in fact, make a lot of influence. Mike, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I want to give you an opportunity to have whatever parting words you want.
Well, I just appreciate the opportunity to spread the word on oil and gas. Unfortunately, there's basically 5 producing states in the United States and 45 consuming states, and most people in Louisiana don't realize it, but they're in the oil and gas business, whether they're in the oil and gas business or not. But to people who are in states that have no production, they don't understand it. So I appreciate you guys bringing me here and letting me try to explain a little bit, because so many just have absolutely no idea. A quick story. I'm in New Mexico, and this lady is out there and asking me what I'm doing, and I told her I'm in the oil and gas business. And she said, oh, you're not out here to drill, are you? I said, oh, no, I wouldn't be crazy enough to do business in New Mexico. But where do you think your heat comes from? She said, oh, we don't use hydrocarbons. We burn propane.
And that, folks, is the rest of that story. This is America on the Edge with CL Bryant, Stephen Parr. We'll be right back.
You're listening to America on the Edge with C.L. Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
It's a summer sizzler showcase. You could win a $5,000 gift card to any Louisiana Boardwalk store, including Bass Pro Shops. Presented by the outlets at Louisiana Boardwalk. Look online to win at 710keel.com.
Is your house just not cool enough when you walk in from work? You deserve to sit in the cool and comfort of your own home after a long, hard day. Give the friendly folks at Premier a call at 222-1980.
William F. Duncan doesn't just offer auto, home, and life insurance. He does it with great personal service. William F. Duncan has covered Caddo and DeSoto parishes for over 18 years. Call him today, 318-532-4300. Tell him CL sent you.
Attention women, if you or a loved one sustained a serious injury caused by transvaginal mesh, bladder mesh, pelvic sling, or bladder sling, you may be entitled to a cash award and compensation. The FDA issued a public notice to doctors and patients concerning serious injuries caused by transvaginal mesh, bladder mesh, pelvic sling, and bladder sling. Please call now if you or a loved one has had one of these devices implanted. You may be entitled to a cash award and compensation. Time is limited. If you or a loved one's life has been affected by serious injury caused by transvaginal mesh, bladder mesh, pelvic sling, and bladder sling, you may be entitled to a cash award and compensation. Call 800-765-9197 now. Call 800-765-9197. Our toll-free phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-765-9197. That's 800-765-9197. Again, 800-765-9197. The Sentinel Group is responsible for this advertisement. Based out of San Diego, California. Cases may be referred to local counsel. Not valid in every state. Check with your doctor before starting or stopping any medication.
They're back.
Let's take this to another level. Another level.
This could be your year.
234. Go. 234. Go.
To score big with the Saints.
Come on. It's time to play. This is time to play.
Make this your year. Play the Saints scratch-off from the lottery. Win up to $100,000. Pick up all 3 fleur-de-lis scenes.
What time is it? Our time. What time is it? Our time.
Enter your non-winning Saints scratch-offs in the drawings for a chance to get up close with the Saints this season. You could win a 2014 Saints fan experience.
That's what I'm talking about.
Stop and pick up the Saints scratch-off at any lottery retailer. Win up to $100,000. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
Whose house is this? Our house.
September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Ovarian cancer is the 5th most deadly cancer for women. Early symptoms often go undetected, but early detection is key. Know the symptoms of ovarian cancer. Visit radiologyinfo.org. That's radiologyinfo.org.
You're listening to America on the Edge with CL Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
Welcome back to America on the Edge with CL Bryant. I'm Stephen Parr. Our question of the day, should minimum wage be $15? How much is enough? Let us know. Give us a call, 318-320-KEEL. On the phone right now, CL, we have Mike from Shreveport.
Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show. What's your statement? What's your question?
I've got a question I don't think has ever been addressed. That is simply, what happens to the worker who is currently making $15 an hour when the minimum wage is doubled to $15 an hour?
Man, that is a very, very good question, because you have now people who are not skilled, perhaps, as that person making that 15, who've earned it. I mean, up through the ranks, Stephen.
Yeah.
You know, who now are in the same economic frame,
right,
as that guy who has earned that $15 an hour. What's the end game in all of this, in your opinion?
I'm not really sure. I think the only end game I can really play here is that labor unions are trying to drive up minimum wage so that they can drive up the wages so they can collect more money and give it to the Democratic Party. I know that's conspiracy theory, but I'm trying to think about it, and that's the thing that makes most sense to me. Of course, yesterday was Labor Day, and a lot of labor unions have used that time to call for a higher minimum wage.
And, you know, I think Mike in Shreveport might have been getting at this point as well. And, Mike, I want you to call in often. Thanks so much for the call. He might be getting at this point as well. We alluded to it in with the last caller.
Right.
$7.25 an hour, or the minimum wage.
Yeah.
Was never intended to be the wage to support a family. It was to get your start. It was to get your feet in the door and then earn your way toward a higher salary. But now I think our politicians are trying to level the playing field, and that's something that is un-American. America simply means that you take advantage of the opportunity there to create capital, to create wealth. The minimum wage is to make sure that you get that start, mostly for young people.
Let me set it up this way. I've talked about this, and our caller earlier did allude to it as well. If you want to make more money, You have to make yourself more valuable to someone who has money.
Absolutely.
Now, too many times, how many times have you been into a fast food restaurant here in town and you've gotten bad service?
Man, it happens too many times.
It happened once here at Whataburger within the last month to where it's made national news. Listen to this clip.
Complain about what? I feel complain about my food. You'll never eat out of Whataburger again. I spit on your food.
Now, but Stephen.
That was an argument between a customer and essentially everyone behind the counter. It was caught on a cell phone. Whataburger then came back out and went, you know what? Everyone there's fired.
You're out of here.
They're all gone.
And Stephen, that was here in Shreveport.
Here in Shreveport.
And this woman actually said, this was the manager I think we were hearing talking, right?
This was the lady behind the counter. It wasn't the manager, but there was some other stuff the manager said that was also bleeped out.
The manager was so.
The manager was also involved, yeah.
And everybody got fired.
Bye-bye.
And so this woman, though, we actually heard her say, if I heard her right, she said, I'll spit in your food?
Yes, because they gave his food to someone else. The other customer opened up the food, touched it, went, hey, this isn't mine, gave it back to people on the counter. They put it in another bag and gave it to the first customer. Said, I don't want somebody else touching my food.
What would have been wrong with these people who has taken this guy's money to say, well, you're right, sir, we'll fix you another hamburger? I mean, what's going on here?
Those are people who are, the unions say, should be making $15 an hour working fast food. Now, here's the problem. Getting back to this issue that you keep bringing up of it's not supposed to be a living wage. I've always thought that minimum wage, well, there is a minimum wage, and it's not what the $7.25. Listen to Ted Cruz on the Senate floor.
The real Obama minimum wage, $0.00 an hour, and I'm sorry to say, in this Democratic Senate, this chamber is largely empty. There is no discussion of fundamental tax reform, of regulatory reform, of removing the barriers that have caused the lowest labor force participation since 1978. Instead, we're debating a bill to increase unemployment.
Jimmy Carter was president back then. In fact, you know what? I have to admit, I admit this to everybody. Jimmy Carter's the first president I ever voted for. Now, let me tell you something. When Ted says this is bad as it was back then, I was my wife and I were living in Los Angeles then.
Ooh.
There were gas lines. Mike, there were gas lines wrapped around gasoline stations back then. It was horrid.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have a job, which I did, thank God, it was really bad. And Ted is saying, and I want you, Stephen, see, you're one of those erudite minds. I want you to interpret for our folks what Ted meant when he said the real minimum wage is at zero.
If you don't have a job, you don't make any money.
Bingo.
So we can say the minimum wage is $7.25, but no, the minimum wage is nothing. If you're not doing anything, if you don't have a job, you're not making anything. And the part of the population the minimum wage hurts the most is the youngest people coming into the workforce. Let me just back this up with some facts. Back in 1992, the minimum wage was $4.25. Today, the minimum wage is $7.25. Back in 1992, the labor force participation rate, that's the percentage of the population that was working, okay, of 16 to 19-year-olds, the high schoolers, was 51%. All of my friends had jobs, bagging groceries, working fast food, doing something like that for $4.25.
You could get a job. A young person could get a job.
The labor force participation rate today for 16 to 19-year-olds is 34%.
No labor force participation.
1 in 3. We used to have half of them. Now it's 1 in 3. And the unemployment rate for those kids, these are kids looking for jobs, 20.2% unemployed. These are the kids actually trying to get the job. They can't because they don't have the skills that are worth $7.25, and they're not going to get them until they get a job.
And those percentages escalate when we take into account those who are not looking for a job.
That's right.
Folks, America is on the edge, and this is America on the Edge with CL Bryant, along with my co-host Stephen Parr. We'll be back in a minute.
Giving you the edge. This is America on the Edge with CL Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
If you're tired of getting nickel and dime for your company's marketing needs, GI Marketing Group can help. We're a new, evolved marketing company with no monthly fees or markups and with quicker response times. With GI Marketing Group, there is no outsourcing. We own the production facilities, everything from print, mail, video, digital, and web design. We do it all in-house. Call us today at 318-222-1100 to start saving time and money, or visit us online at gimarketinggroup.com.
Doctors Thornton, Pugh, Ollier, and Watkins from the Ear, Nose, and Throat Center are excited to tell you about a new, made-for-iPhone hearing aid, Resound Links. Resound Links is the fully featured hearing aid designed to connect directly with iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch. Built with revolutionary technology to bring you a smarter, smaller, and more connected hearing experience. Call the Ear, Nose, and Throat Center at 888-408-6318 today to experience Resound Links. That's 888-408-6318 to schedule your appointment to learn all about Resound Links. Apple, iPad, iPhone, and iPod Touch are trademarks of Apple Incorporated, registered in the U.S. and other countries. Once again, call the Ear, Nose, and Throat Center at 888-408-6318 today to experience Resound Links.
Hello, everybody. This is Henry Burns. God, faith, and freedom are not free. Many have paid the price. Let freedom ring. What a great radio program. Go get 'em, CL.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
On March 3rd last year, Henry W. faced his own death with incredible courage. He wasn't in an accident. He wasn't ill. He wasn't in any danger. But he faced this reality head on. If he died, his wife and children wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage, make the car payments, or keep up the life they'd had. His family would lose everything. So he picked up the phone and called AIG Direct. He found out that through AIG Direct, he could get a $250,000 life insurance policy for less than $14 a month. Now, he knows that he's helped make his family's future secure, no matter what happens to him.
Protecting your family with coverage through AIG Direct is fast, easy, and incredibly affordable. Call AIG Direct right now for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you can save up to 70%. Call now. 1-800-934-0771. That's 1-800-934-0771. 1-800-934-0771.
Let me cut through all of the noise.
Rush is on every weekday from 11 to 2.
It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind.
Right here on your news and weather station.
Where consumers of hard news go.
On News Radio 710 Keel. 710 Keel. 710 Keel. You're listening to America on the Edge with CL Bryant and Stephen Parr on News Radio 710 Keel.
Welcome back to America on the Edge with CL Bryant. I'm Stephen Parr. CL, my parents have a medical practice, and when I was growing up, they would hire high school students to come work for them, $4.25 an hour.
Yeah.
Even after I graduated high school, I was in college, they were still hiring high school students to go work for them. Mm-hmm. Now with minimum wage at $7.25, the work those high school students could do for them, not worth $7.25 an hour. They have no high school kids working for them nowadays.
There's no way. And, Stephen, Jane and I, like as you know, we've run several little businesses. There's no way we could afford to pay anyone $15 an hour. And whoever we were employing, let's say we were employing 5 people, 3 of them would have to go.
What about the companies that are looking at having to employ a lot of people? You get to 49, you start getting to 50, you start thinking about Obamacare.
Well, folks, we thank God for another day's journey and bringing us safely to it. And we thank also our men and women in uniform who defend our right, yours and mine, Stephen, to speak our mind behind these microphones. Until we talk to you again, this is CL Bryant, America on the Edge.
Understands to protect and defend what we believe and keep America strong and living free. They see the damage and the pain.
News Radio